You ever just find yourself, I don't know, reaching for your phone first thing or grabbing that afternoon coffee without even really deciding to?
Oh, absolutely. Happens all the time, doesn't it? It feels like autopilot.
Exactly. And these little automatic actions, they sort of form this invisible operating system for our lives. Saves mental bandwidth, sure, but it also shapes, well, everything.
That's the core idea we're digging into today, isn't it? We're starting to unravel what we're calling the habit code.
Right. And our main guide for this first part is Charles Duhigg's book, The Power of Habit.
Right.
We're going to focus on the real bedrock concept, the habit loop.
Yeah, understanding this loop is key. It's about pulling back the curtain on why we do what we do, often without thinking.
So Duhigg, he's a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, right?
Yeah.
Known for really digging deep.
Exactly. And his big questions were, why do habits even exist? And crucially, can we actually change them? His research led him to some pretty fascinating places.
Like the story of Eugene Coley. That one really stuck with me.
Oh, Eugene's case is incredible. So he had severe brain damage, specifically to the area controlling conscious memory. He couldn't remember, day-to-day stuff.
But he could still form habits.
That's the paradox. He could learn new routines, like finding his way home, even though he couldn't consciously recall the route or even his own house sometimes.
Wow. So how does that work?
It showed that habits aren't stored with our regular memories. They rely on a different part of the brain, the basal ganglia. It's like a separate subconscious system just for routines.
Okay, so if habits are running on this separate track, just how much of our day is, well, habitual?
Duhigg puts a number on it. He says more than 40% of the actions we perform each day.
40%. That's almost half.
Yeah. It's not conscious decisions driving those actions. It's ingrained habits. The brain loves efficiency,
Right.
So once it learns a pattern, cue, routine, reward, it automates it into a habit loop. Then the conscious brain can kind of power down during that routine.
Like those rat experiments you mentioned.
Exactly, yeah, rats in a maze. As they learn the route to the reward, their overall brain activity actually decreased.
Except in the basal ganglia.
Precisely. That part took over, the habit was formed.
So this has huge implications for success then, if so much is automatic.
It really does. Duhigg argues that success often hinges more on our habits than just raw talent or motivation. Even conscious decisions sometimes take a backseat.
It reminds me of that William James quote, something about life being a mass of habits.
That's the one. And it's not just personal life. Think about organizations. Duhigg talks about Rhode Island Hospital, where tragically poor organizational habits had fatal consequences for patients. The stakes can be incredibly high.
Okay, let's break down the mechanism then, this habit loop. What are the parts?
It's a simple but powerful three-step process. First, there's the cue.
The trigger.
The trigger, exactly. It tells your brain, okay, run this program now. Cues fall into roughly 5 categories: your location, the time of day, your emotional state, the presence of other people, or an immediately preceding action.
Like, finishing dinner might be the cue for wanting dessert. That preceding action idea.
Perfect example. Or just walking past the coffee machine location cue. Or feeling bored emotional cue.
Got it. So cue first, then what?
Then comes the routine. This is the habit itself, the action you performed.
It can be physical, like lacing up running shoes.
Yeah. Or mental, like worrying automatically when you see a certain email subject line. Or even emotional, like feeling a sudden urge to check social media.
Okay, cue triggers routine. What locks it in?
The reward. This is the payoff. The reason your brain says, hey, let's remember this loop for next time, it reinforces the connection.
So the good feeling, the satisfaction.
Could be a dopamine hit from sugar, the sense of accomplishment after exercise, even just the relief from boredom. Our brains are wired to repeat things that feel good.
But Duhigg adds another crucial layer, doesn't he? It's not just cue, routine, reward.
Right. He emphasizes the craving. This is absolutely vital. The cue and a reward aren't enough on their own long term.
It's the anticipation.
Exactly. Your brain starts to anticipate the reward as soon as the cue appears. That anticipation, that craving, is what drives you through the routine.
You had that monkey experiment, right? With the juice.
Yeah, that was fascinating. Once the monkeys learned the pattern cue, lever pull, juice reward, their brains showed anticipation before getting the juice. And if the juice was delayed or withheld,
They got upset.
they got really angry and frustrated. It showed how powerful that craving for the expected reward had become. The craving keeps the loop spinning.
Okay, this framework is super useful. So how can people listening start using this right now?
Great question. Let's make it practical. First, try identifying one of your own small daily habits. Maybe it is that morning phone check or an afternoon snack.
And break it down.
Yeah. Ask yourself, what's the cue? Which category does it fit into time, place, feeling? What's the actual routine? And honestly, what's the reward you get from it? Like the 3 p.m. cookie cue is time, routine is getting the cookie, reward might be the sugar rush or just a mental break.
That's a good personal exercise. What about seeing it in the wider world?
Try observing an organizational habit, maybe at your workplace, or even just how a store is laid out. How do meetings usually kick off?
Is there a standard opening?
Right. What's the cue for that? What's the routine everyone follows? And what's the perceived reward? Maybe it creates a sense of order or ensures everyone's on the same page. Efficiency, maybe?
Just consciously noticing these loops.
Yeah.
That feels like the first big step. You start seeing the invisible threads.
It is. Simply identifying the loop doesn't automatically change it, but you can't change what you don't understand, right?
Right.
Awareness is power here.
Makes sense. It reveals how much is actually under the hood, governing our behavior.
Absolutely. And once you see the loop,
Huh?
well, that opens up possibilities.
Which is exactly where we're headed next time. We'll get into how you can actually leverage this understanding to start changing habits. We'll talk about things like the golden rule of habit change and these powerful things called Keystone Habits.
Looking forward to it. There's a lot more to unpack in the habit code.
Definitely. Join us for the next deep dive as we continue figuring this out. Okay, welcome back to the deep dive.
Good to be diving back in.
So we're continuing with Charles Duhigg's The Power of Habit. Last time was a bit of an overview, but today we're really getting to the core concept, aren't we?
We are. The habit loop. This is, well, it's fundamental. Duhigg says it's behind, over 40% of our daily actions, which is kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is. Almost half of what we do is just running on a program.
Exactly. And understanding this loop, the cue, the routine, and the reward, that's genuinely the first step if you want to make any changes to, get off autopilot.
Right, kicking back the wheel a bit. So let's start at the beginning. The brain's role in all this, it's trying to be efficient.
Totally. The brain is fundamentally lazy in a smart way. It wants to conserve energy.
Okay.
So it takes sequences of actions, especially ones that lead to some kind of satisfaction, and it chunks them, turns them into an automatic routine.
Like muscle memory, but for, anything.
Pretty much. It automates it. And crucially, it doesn't really care if the habit is good or bad for you.
Right. If it works, if it satisfies that craving, it gets encoded.
Exactly. It frees up your mind to focus on other things. It's an efficiency mechanism.
So what actually triggers this automatic routine? What gets the ball rolling?
That's the cue. It's the trigger, the signal to your brain that says, okay, run this program now.
And these cues can be anything, right? Not just something obvious.
Oh, absolutely. They're everywhere. Could be sensory, like Duhigg uses the Cinnabon example. That smell hits you, and boom, you want one.
Yeah, I know that one.
Or it could be contextual, like a certain time of day, maybe seeing specific people, being in a particular place, even an emotional state.
Like feeling stressed and immediately reaching for your phone.
That's a classic modern one, yeah. Stress becomes the cue for the routine of scrolling social media.
It's interesting how subtle they can be and how they can be sort of engineered. You mentioned Febreze before we started.
Oh, yeah. The Febreze story is fascinating. It initially flopped because people didn't have a cue for bad smells they'd gotten used to.
Odor blind, right?
Exactly. So they repositioned it. They made the reward of a fresh smell something you get after cleaning. So finishing cleaning became the new cue.
So the cue became the completion of an action leading to the reward. Clever.
Really clever. It shows you can sometimes design or reframe the cue.
Okay, so the cue fires.
Yeah.
What's next? The actual habit itself.
Yeah, that's the routine. This is the behavior you actually perform. It could be physical, like biting your nails or making coffee.
Or mental, like worrying about something.
Sure. Or emotional even, like the feeling of relief you might get momentarily from procrastinating on a task. That feeling can be part of the routine.
And Duhigg has this golden rule, right, about changing routines.
Yes, and it's key. You basically can't just eliminate a bad habit. The neural pathway is still there.
You can't just delete the program.
Right. You have to swap out the routine. Keep the same cue, keep the same reward, but insert a different behavior. That's the core idea. Trying to just stop with willpower. Often doesn't work long term because the cue and the craving for the reward are still active.
Okay, that makes sense. You need to give the brain what it's expecting just via a different route.
Yeah.
So cue triggers, routine happens. What seals the deal? Why do we keep doing it?
That's the reward, the payoff. This is what tells your brain, hey, this loop, it's worth remembering and doing again.
It reinforces the whole thing.
Absolutely. It satisfies what Duhigg calls a neurological craving. It's not just wanting something. Your brain learns to anticipate and crave that payoff, like the sugar hit from candy or, the endorphin rush after exercise.
And sometimes the reward we think we're getting isn't the real one.
That's a super important point. You might grab a cookie mid-afternoon. Is the reward the cookie itself? Or is it the break from work, the distraction, the socializing by the coffee machine?
You have to figure out what need is actually being met.
Yes. And the reward needs to be pretty immediate for the brain to make that strong connection between the routine and the payoff.
So it's not just cue, then routine, then reward. They're all tangled up.
Deeply intertwined. The craving is really the engine driving it. Once the cue happens, your brain starts expecting that reward. That anticipation, that neurological craving is what makes the routine happen almost automatically.
That expectation just builds and builds.
It does. It becomes this powerful subconscious force pulling you through the loop.
Okay, so bringing this down to earth for everyone listening, what are the actionable things? How can you use this?
Well, first step, if you want to change a habit, identify the routine clearly. What are you actually doing?
Then play detective with the cue.
Exactly. Ask yourself, where am I? What time is it? How am I feeling? Who else is around? What did I just do before the urge hit? Write it down for a few days. Patterns often emerge.
And then the reward part.
Experiment. When the urge hits, try substituting a different potential reward. If you usually get a sugary snack, try, a quick walk outside or chatting with a colleague for 5 minutes or just stretching. See what actually satisfies that underlying urge. Were you hungry? Bored? Needing energy?
Finding the real craving.
Finding the real craving. That's the goal.
And what about building new habits? Good ones.
Make the cue super obvious. Want to stretch. Yoga mat by the bed. Drink more water. Water bottle right there on your desk. You're essentially engineering a trigger.
You're hijacking that autopilot system for your own benefit. Takes willpower out of the equation.
Precisely. Right. Makes it easier to get started.
So, okay, we've got the basic loop. Cue, routine, reward. We see how they connect, how the brain automates things.
You have the building blocks now?
But you mentioned that craving, that anticipation.
Yeah.
It feels like there's more going on under the surface there. Something powerful driving it all.
There absolutely is. And that's what we'll dive into next time. The craving. Understanding that is arguably the real key to making changes stick.
Okay, something to look forward to.
Definitely. But for now, just start noticing. Watch your own loops in action this week. Cue, routine, reward. You might be surprised what you see. Welcome to the deep dive. Ever find yourself just doing something almost without thinking?
Oh, definitely.
Like reaching for your phone the second you wake up. Or, wandering to the kitchen for a snack when you're not even really hungry. It feels so automatic sometimes.
Yeah, it really does.
Now, in past deep dives, we've talked about Charles Duhigg's habit loop. The cue, the routine, the reward. Basic stuff.
Right, the foundation.
But today, we're going deeper. We're really drilling down into what actually powers that loop. What makes us crave that reward so much that the routine just locks in.
Exactly. This deep dive is all about that hidden engine, the craving. And understanding it, well, it's not just interesting, it's absolutely critical if you actually want to change your habits for good.
Okay, the craving. So it's this powerful thing. But what exactly is it, according to Duhigg? Is it just wanting something?
It's a bit more specific than that. Duhigg defines it as the anticipation of the reward. That's what really kicks off the habit loop.
Anticipation, not just the desire itself.
Right. It's the expectation that triggers the routine. And James Clear adds a nice layer to that. He says we don't actually crave the habit, like the action itself. We crave the change in state it brings. The relief a smoker feels, or that clean mouth feeling after brushing. It's the outcome we're after.
Oh, okay. The change in state. That makes sense. And this is where the brain science gets really interesting, right? The neurological side of it.
Oh, absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
So our brain registers pleasure with dopamine, right? A little spike.
Yeah.
But with habits, something shifts. As a habit gets stronger, that dopamine spike doesn't wait for the reward anymore. It happens right after the cue appears, before you even get the reward.
Wow, really?
Yeah, think of that study with Julio the monkey. His brain activity literally shifted.
Yeah.
It went from spiking when he got the juice to spiking when he just saw the cue predicting the juice.
So that spike is the craving, that feeling of anticipation?
That's it. That anticipatory dopamine hit is the neurological craving.
So our brain is basically getting excited before the good stuff even arrives. What does that mean for us, practically speaking? Does that make habits just incredibly hard to resist?
It makes them super potent. Yeah. Very hard to ignore because your brain is already saying, go get that reward. It's primed. It's a strong neurological pull, which is why habits feel so automatic, so ingrained.
Okay, so our brains are kind of set up for this. But it's not just internal, right? I mean, companies have figured this out, haven't they? They actually try to create cravings.
Oh, big time. Look at Pepsodent toothpaste way back when. Claude Hopkins, the ad guy, he wasn't just selling clean teeth.
What was he selling then?
He was selling a craving. That cool, tingly feeling Pepsodent left. That wasn't an accident. It was designed so people would miss it, would crave it, if they skip brushing. They literally manufactured the craving.
Wow. So they engineered the feeling people would anticipate. What about Febreze? That's another classic example, right? They had trouble at first.
Yeah, Febreze flopped initially because, well, people just get used to bad smells in their own homes. The cue wasn't working.
So what did they do?
They completely repositioned it, added more perfume, and crucially, they told people to use it after cleaning as a finishing touch.
Ah, so the cue changed.
Exactly. The clean smell became the cue for truly clean. If the room didn't smell like Febreze afterwards, it didn't feel finished. They essentially re-engineered that link between the cue and the craving for that specific scent of clean.
Clever.
And you see it elsewhere, like Cinnabon pumping that smell into mall corridors, instant craving. Or McDonald's fries, designed to melt almost instantly on your tongue, tightens that reward loop super fast.
It's everywhere when you start looking, but maybe the most insightful example is Duhigg's own story, his cookie habit. He thought it was sugar he wanted.
Right, he was convinced. But he did this little experiment on himself, tried different things when the urge hit.
And what was the real craving?
It wasn't the cookie at all. It was social interaction, a break from his desk, a chance to chat with colleagues. That was the real reward his brain anticipated.
So he swapped the cookie for a conversation.
Yep. Kept the cue mid-afternoon slump, but changed the routine to satisfy the actual craving. It just shows how often our bad habits are, like clumsy attempts to meet legitimate needs, social, emotional, whatever.
That's a huge realization. So, okay, for someone listening, how do you figure out your true craving? How do you pinpoint it?
It takes a bit of detective work. You know your routine, obviously.
Yep.
You identify the cue that triggers it. You see the obvious reward. But then you have to ask, what feeling does this reward really give me? Is that snack really about hunger? Or is it boredom, stress, procrastination? The craving isn't usually for the thing itself, but for the state it delivers. Comfort, distraction, energy.
Okay, so dig deeper than the surface reward. And once you think you found that deeper craving, then what?
Then use the craving swap. This is the heart of Duhigg's golden rule of habit change.
Roll to roll.
Yeah, you can't really eliminate a bad habit, not easily.
Yeah.
But you can transform it. The key is keep the same cue, keep satisfying the same underlying craving, the reward, but insert a new, better routine.
Like Duhigg, swapping the cookie for a chat. Same cue, same reward, social interaction, different routine.
Exactly. Or think about Alcoholics Anonymous. It helps people find community, support, emotional release, things they might have sought through alcohol, but through meetings and sponsorship instead. Same craving, different routine. It's about redirecting that powerful drive.
So understanding the craving is really the key. It's the engine, like you said.
It truly is. If you can pinpoint your real craving and then figure out a healthier way to satisfy it, the craving swap, you gain so much more control over those automatic loops.
It changes habit change from this like brutal fight against yourself into something more like an intelligent substitution, working with your brain's wiring.
Precisely. And that really sets us up for our next deep dive. We'll get further into applying that golden rule, mastering how to swap routines effectively while keeping that cue and satisfying that fundamental craving.
So until then, maybe think about one habit you have. What might be the real craving hiding underneath it? And just maybe, what healthier routine could potentially satisfy that same craving? Something to chew on.
You know, we've all been there, right? Trying so hard to break some bad habit, just gritting our teeth using pure willpower.
And it just collapses. You end up right back where you started. It's so frustrating.
Exactly. And that feeling, that reliance on willpower,
Yeah.
well, that's often the actual problem.
Right. Society tells us, just try harder. But honestly, that advice, it's often totally out of sync with how our brains are actually wired.
How so?
Well, willpower. It's finite. Think of it like a muscle gets tired. So constantly fighting these automatic behaviors, it just drains you. It's
Yeah.
almost designed for failure sometimes.
Okay, so if grinding it out with willpower isn't the answer, what is?
That's what this deep dive is all about. There's a smarter way, less exhausting. It's often called the golden rule of habit change.
The golden
Right.
rule. Okay, so to get that, we need to quickly recap the basics of how habits work, right? The habit loop.
Precisely. Every habit has three parts. There's a cue, that's the trigger. Then the routine, which is the behavior itself. And finally, the reward, the good feeling you get.
Cue, routine, reward. Got it.
But there's a hidden force, and this is crucial, the craving. That feeling before the reward, that anticipation, that's what really drives the loop.
The craving. Okay, so the golden rule uses this somehow.
Exactly. And here's the big shift. Real change isn't usually about eradicating the habit. It's about, replacing the routine part.
Replacing it.
Yes, you keep the same cue, you keep the same reward your brain is craving, but you strategically swap in a new, better routine. You're basically hijacking the existing loop.
So you're not fighting the craving, you're satisfying it differently.
Perfectly put. You leverage the craving. And this isn't just, a nice idea. It's grounded in neuroscience.
Oh, yeah. Where in the brain does this happen?
It's largely in the basal ganglia. Think of it as your brain's autopilot center. It automates behaviors.
So when we swap routines, we're actually, like carving new pathways in there?
You are. You're literally retraining your autopilot, making the new routine the brain's preferred energy-efficient option.
Which explains why just stopping cold turkey is so hard.
Exactly. Going cold turkey creates this void, a behavioral gap. The brain hates that. It wants the familiar, easy path, so it pulls you back to the old habit.
Okay. But swapping routines avoids that gap.
Right. And it saves your willpower. Once the new routine locks into that cue reward framework, it becomes automatic, frees up your mental energy.
Less struggle, more strategy. I like it. So how do we actually do this? Is there a practical method?
There is a really effective 4-step blueprint. Charles Duhigg, who wrote The Power of Habit, used it himself for, get this, a cookie habit.
A cookie habit. Okay, I'm listening. What's step one?
First, identify the routine. For Duhigg, it was simple. Going to the cafeteria and buying a cookie around 3:30 p.m. every day.
Okay, easy enough. Step two.
Experiment with rewards. This is key. He wasn't sure why he wanted the cookie. Was it hunger, boredom, energy, a break?
How did you figure that out?
He tried different things when the urge hit. Coffee one day, a walk another, chatting with colleagues. He realized the cookie wasn't the point. The reward he craved was actually the social interaction and the mental break.
Interesting. Okay, step three.
Isolate the cue. What was triggering the routine? He tracked location, time, mood, people around him. For him, the consistent trigger was the time, around 3:30 p.m.
Got it. So routine, reward, cue. What's the final step?
Step 4, have a plan. This is where you build the new routine. He made an if-then plan.
If then?
Yeah. If it is 3:30 p.m., then I will walk over to a friend's desk and chat for 10 minutes. See? Same cue, time, same reward, social break, different routine.
That predecision makes the new action easier to start, almost automatic.
That's the goal. And you see this principle working in really powerful ways elsewhere, too.
Like where?
Well, think about Alcoholics Anonymous. AA is built on this. It helps members identify their cues, stress, loneliness, whatever, and swap the routine of drinking for new ones.
Like going to a meeting or calling a sponsor.
Exactly. Those new routines provide similar rewards. Relief, community, a sense of control. Of course, belief and group support are huge factors there, too.
Makes sense. Any other examples?
Tony Dungy, the NFL coach, he used it with his football teams. Kept the game cues, kept the reward winning, but he simplified the defensive routines.
So the players didn't have to think as much.
Right. They developed faster, more instinctive new routines on the field. It helped them win a Super Bowl. Same principle. Cue, new routine, reward.
Wow. So this isn't just about cookies, it's about high-stakes performance, too.
Absolutely. The underlying mechanism is the same.
Okay, so wrapping this up then, the big takeaway seems to be, don't just try to kill bad habits.
No, you work with your brain, you replace them strategically, keep the cue, keep the reward, change the routine.
That 4-step plan, identify routine, experiment with rewards, isolate cue, have a plan, Seems like a really practical tool.
It really is. Combine that with belief you can change, maybe find some support, and you really can reshape your behavior. Build a life based on habits you choose.
So the real power isn't in breaking habits, it's in the smarter act of swapping them. Something to think about. How many of your own daily actions are just running on autopilot? And what small swaps could you maybe start exploring today?
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a closer look at something really powerful. This idea that can, well, reshape your whole life with just small shifts. We're talking about Keystone Habits. We're going to unpack them, what they are, why they work, and importantly, how you might spot them in your own life.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept. We've talked before about the basic habit loop, that cue, routine, reward thing.
The standard model.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But imagine if one small habit didn't just exist on its own. What if it actually set off this, profound ripple effect across lots of areas of your life?
That's the core, isn't it?
That really is the core of a keystone habit.
And Charles Duhigg, he really popularized this. He calls them the first domino that makes all the others fall.
Great analogy.
It is. And the real magic, I think, is figuring out how something that seems minor, how it can unleash such huge, disproportionate change.
Well, what's striking is they're often defined as, small changes or routines that, once established, tend to create a cascade of other positive habits.
A cascade.
Yeah. They don't just add one new behavior. They subtly kind of reorganize other parts of your life, often without you even consciously trying.
So it's deeper than just changing actions. It's influencing how individuals think, act, and feel.
Right.
It can actually start shaping one's identity. It feels like finding those master keys, the ones that unlock not just one door, but like a whole wing of change. It feels systemic, you know, not just surface stuff.
Absolutely. And there's a really vivid real-world example, Paul O'Neill at Alcoa.
Oh, yeah, the aluminum giant, back in '87.
That's the one. When he first spoke to Wall Street, everyone expected financials, profits, projections.
The usual CEO stuff.
Right. But instead, he declared this, audacious goal, seemingly totally unrelated, 0 injuries.
0 injuries. People must have thought he was way off track.
They did. But here's where his keystone habit came in, and it was, frankly, brilliant.
Okay, get this.
If an employee got injured, the unit president had to report directly to O'Neill within 24 hours.
Wow, 24 hours.
And not just report it, but report it with a concrete plan. How to prevent it from ever happening again.
And the kicker.
The real kicker. Promotions. They became strictly tied to how well people followed this safety system.
So this wasn't just about, avoiding lawsuits or something?
Not at all. It forced this radical new level of transparency, accountability.
So what happened? The result?
Well, the result was incredible. Alcoa became one of the safest companies anywhere. Injury rates just plummeted, almost to 0.
Amazing.
But the deeper thing is how it happened. That intense focus on safety. It forced improvements everywhere else.
How so?
To get to 0 injuries, they had to fix communication problems. They had to improve quality control, streamline inventory, boost efficiency, all of it.
So all those operational improvements, they came from focusing on safety.
Exactly. Born from that single safety focus.
Yeah.
And that ultimately made Alcoa's market value just soar. It wasn't about chasing profits directly. It was about the keystone habit of safety.
That is powerful. And it applies personally too, right?
Absolutely. Think about, say, daily exercise.
Okay.
It's often a keystone habit. Why? Because it's not just burning calories. People who start exercising regularly, they often just find themselves making healthier food choices.
Right. You feel better. You want to eat better.
Exactly. And they sleep better, feel more energetic, more focused at work. It's like the discipline just spills over.
Or that study about food journaling, where just tracking what you eat.
Yeah. Led people to lose twice as much weight. Just the act of tracking that one thing created this awareness. It influenced countless other little decisions about eating.
It builds that self-awareness, doesn't it? And self-discipline.
That's the foundation. It empowers other changes. And if you want to cultivate your own, you might start really small. Think atomic habits.
Tiny habits.
Yeah, incredibly small, easy actions. Just to build momentum. The focus shifts, away from these huge, maybe overwhelming goals.
Towards just building good systems.
Exactly. Robust systems that just naturally lead to positive results.
And a good way to embed them is linking them to stuff you already do.
Perfect strategy.
Plan your top 3 tasks for the day before you make your morning coffee. That small act, if you do it consistently, can massively shift your productivity.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget to, celebrate the small wins.
So important. Those little victories, they aren't just nice, they build that psychological momentum. Keep you going.
Yeah, definitely. So ultimately, Keystone Habits, they offer this really efficient path, transforming lots of parts of your life just by picking one strategic lever.
So what this all boils down to for you listening is maybe start small. Pick one potential keystone habit, be consistent,
Yeah.
and then just watch. See how that one positive change might organically lead to another, creating this virtuous cycle you didn't even plan for.
Which really raises a key question for you, doesn't it? What single keystone habit, what one thing might unlock that cascade of positive changes in your life?
So here's our challenge. Try to identify one, just one potential keystone habit, and practice it consistently for just 1 week. 1 week. Then observe. Pay attention to the ripples. You might really be surprised at what else starts to shift.
That's all for this episode of the Deep Dive Cast. Thanks for joining us. We hope you gained some valuable insights. Be sure to tune in next time for another deep dive into the world's best ideas. Until then, keep learning and growing.